Okay, it looks like we are going live. According to my clock, it is 7:58, so I'm just a tiny bit early. So how is everybody doing tonight? Super excited to share with you what we're going to be doing. Let me give everybody about 30 seconds to hop on. Let's see who's already on there. I see Trudy from New Hampshire. Hi, Trudy. Let me see. It's Inez. I hope it's Inez. It could be Inez Walsh from Canada. Hi. Marianne's on there. Lucy is on there from Hawthorne, California. And then I see Linda Smith. I'm sure there's other people jumping on. If you are a subscriber, you can jump into the chat and say hello, ask questions. So I will pause throughout the presentation to let you ask questions if you want to, or I'll just keep checking the chat. All right, everybody, welcome. It is very hot here in Kentucky today. The weather is much nicer than it was last week, so we're super happy. This is the start of Hello Summer. Oh, hi, Sue. Hi, Kim, Jeanette, Diane, Michelle. Hi, everybody. Judith. Say hello to each other in the chat. So this is the launch of Hello Summer, and so Hello Summer, I'm going to be giving you little ideas that you can use to make holiday gifts or even just birthday presents or just little tokens of appreciation that you want to share with people. And so I'm going to show you different ways to use these things. And so we're going to get started today with a little organizer pouch. And I'm going to show you how to customize it just for you. And then if you miss this live stream or you have to run away and do something else, don't worry. I will post the replay. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can get the replays and the notifications. All right, everybody. Gloria, Renee, we got a lot of people on here tonight. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me share the cutting guide and share what we're going to need. My name's Yvonne, and hi, everybody. If you're new, welcome to the channel. All right, I'm going to share my desktop so you can see. For the organizer pouch, I'm going to show you how to make today. We are going to be using one 8.5-inch square. If you don't have an 8.5-inch square, you can use a bunch of scraps and put one together. All right, and this also going to need an 8.5-inch square for your lining. If you don't have 8.5 inches, you can use an 8-inch square or even something smaller, but you can piece stuff together. And so a 9-inch zipper if you have a 9-inch zipper, but we're going to work with whatever we've got. All right, everybody, let me show you my supply list. If you want to see what supplies I'm using, you can always look at the supply list down in the description. I have some links down there for you. All right, friends, so let me show you what I'm using. I'm just using a regular 8.5-inch square. I put these little circles on mine so that they don't roll around, but I'm just using one of my oldest rulers in the book. And what we're going to be doing is you're going to be measuring your journal that you're going to use for this particular activity. So you do need a little journal. In my case, I've already made one. And I made it for this little gray journal that I have here. So a lot of times when you have these little books, they have this little elastic on them. So this is just a plain journal. But sometimes you're just going somewhere, maybe to a meeting or whatever. Maybe you're going to Bible study, you're going to a friend's house, you're writing down a recipe, and you don't want to take a purse with you. So this is what we're going to be making today. So it's a handy dandy little pouch that you attach to a journal just like this. So this one goes on here, and you can put all kinds of things in here. My journal here is, just so you can see for size comparison, this journal is an 8-inch journal, so I'm going to be using an 8-inch square, but normally I start with 8.5 to give myself a big wide seam allowance. And then you have this little zipper that we're going to install, and I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. It's lined, so there's no raw edges. You don't have to have a serger, and these are perfect for putting even like a pair of glasses in there, so my readers fit in there just fine. This holds markers, Sharpies. It's the perfect size for all kinds of little things like this. So you can take markers with you. Maybe you have a set of keys that you want to keep in your little journal. Maybe you're going someplace else, but these can even fit on the visor of your car. So if you wanted to put your insurance card in here and stick that in the visor of your car, they even fit that. So that is what we're making today. Next Thursday, I'm going to give you a sneak peek. We're going to be making the Jelly Roll makeup pouch, and this is made with jelly rolls. So these are all little scraps of jelly roll pieces. So that's what we're doing next week. So next Thursday is the Jelly Roll makeup pouch, but today we're doing the little handy organizer. Okay, so let me set this aside and let me show you how to get started. Oh, by the way, if you did not notice or you did not pick up Quick and Easy quilts for April, May, June, July, the quilt behind me is a quilt that I designed, and it is on the back section. So there's a whole section on Quilts of Valor, and that's the quilt behind me. So if you have this magazine, that's the quilt that finally came home. All right, everybody, let's get started. Let me see, does anybody have any questions? Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some materials. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need some lining fabric for mine. And this can be adjusted for any size journal. This journal that I'm going to show you today is my 2024-2025 planner. And it has a sturdy cover. And what you're going to do for this is the first thing you have to do is just measure the cover of this journal. And this one is 9.5 inches, right? And so I'm going to be working with fabric because I want my my organizer to be about this big. I want it to be about 3.5, 4 inches wide, just like my other one. But I don't want it to cover my entire journal. So let me raise this up so you guys can see what I'm working with here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take one of my lining pieces and I'm going to interface it, because you're going to need some interfacing. I'm using some fusible. You can use some lightweight interfacing, but if you want it to have more body, you can use a heavier weight interfacing. So I'm going to take a square of interfacing and I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller than my the square that I'm working with. Turn my fan. So I'm working with a square for this particular journal that is 8 inches by 8 inches. So I made it a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to cut interfacing that's 1 inch smaller all the way around. So I'm going to need interfacing that's 7 by 7. So my square is 8 by 8, so my interfacing needs to be 7 by 7. You need a hot dry iron, and you're going to interface that lining. If you want to interface the outer fabric, you can, but I'm going to be using a scrap of batik, and it's fairly stiff. So this is my scrap that I'm using. I just have this here, and it's just a bunch of jelly roll strips that have been put together, and I've cut this into strips. So I'm going to cut this in half after I interface it. So first I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to interface it. You can interface both sides of this if you want to, or you can interface just one side. It depends on what you want, where you want the stiffness, but either way you can either interface the lining or the body. You just don't want to interface the seam allowance. And if you notice, my seam allowance is a nice big generous 1/2 inch, right? Yeah, I was super excited to end up in a magazine. This quilt behind me is a Quilt of Valor. It was a labor of love, and it's going to be for someone in my family. All right, so I've interfaced my lining. Give it a good press. And for this particular project, you don't have to use fancy cottons. You can use inexpensive cottons from wherever. And so this is what you want to do. If you want it to be stiffer, like I said, you can interface both the lining and the outside. Okay, so once I've interfaced my piece, I'm going to cut it in half. And so I'm going to take my ruler. I'm just going to eyeball it like this. You can crease it with your finger. Gives you a little line right there. I'm just going to run that run it along the 4-inch line. And now I have 2 pieces that are 4 inches across and 8 inches tall for this particular notebook. And this is for a 9-inch journal, right? And so now I have these 2 and these are ready to go. Now, because this is kind of a scrap and I have no way of getting an 8-inch square out of them, I'm just going to cut 4-inch strips. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to cut a 4-inch strip. I'm going to lay that 4 right on there. I'm going to roll that up. And I have a 4-inch strip. This one won't quite give me a 4-inch strip, but I cut another chunk out of it earlier. And so I have 2 4-inch strips. And now I just need to make them the same size as the other ones. This is 8 inches long, so I'm just going to find the 8-inch mark and cut that off right there. And let me just double check. Always double check your measurements. This is 8 inches. So I'm just going to take, and they don't have to be perfect. And I can even use 2 different sides. I could actually use just one of these, really. Let me see if that's 8 inches. If that's 8 inches, then I'm in business. Oh, perfection. Just going to trim off this side over here. And I'm going to flip that around. And I'm going to line it up on the 8-inch line, straighten it up. And these are my pieces. So you can use scrap. Just like that, these are my 2 pieces that I'm going to use for this. And save these, you can put those together and make other fun things. All right, so I have these 2, which are my lining. And if you notice, it has a border. I could do the same thing with this. I could take a 7x7 piece and interface both of those, which I might just to stabilize those edges. So just get a little piece of interfacing here. I'm going to cut 7x7 again because I want 1 inch smaller. And I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm just going to interface both of my pieces like this. Just going to lay that right where that is barely hanging over. Sliver trim that off. And it gives me what I need. So now I can take, and I am going to go ahead and interface these 2 pieces. And that's just to provide stability to these seams. You want the bumpy side down on the glue. Oh, welcome, Mary. If you are new to the channel, welcome. All the patterns that are on my channel are free. There's no like hidden fees. There's no secret club. You can just join us anytime, and I give you all of the details to make your own project. This is very scrap friendly. All right, you need to use a very hot dry iron when you interface. And you should not starch or add sizing to your fabric because the interfacing will not stick. So it won't stick. And then you're going to be sad. Yeah, Lisa, sometimes those notifications are late. When YouTube sends out an email, sometimes it takes a while. All right, so now I have both of these pieces and they're interfaced. And now I'm going to have to grab a zipper. And I'm going to be using 1 inch elastic. You can buy this in a bundle. It comes in every color. I might use orange. I don't know. What do you guys think? Something that looks cute with this planner. Maybe a blue. I don't know. What do you guys think? What color should I use? That orange might be too bright. All right. I think I'm going to use, let me see, these pieces. I think I'm going to use the red. The orange, Lucinda, I was torn between the red and the orange. Yeah, I think it might be the orange. Somebody likes the blue? Oh, I know! Decisions. Okay, I'm just going to close my eyes. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, make him pay. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Green? Maybe not. I'm not listening to that. There's an aqua. Ooh, maybe that's the color. Right there. This aqua is totally different and it looks really nice with this cover here. All right, so I've got 2 lining pieces, right, that are 1 inch smaller than my notebook. So if my notebook is 9, these are 8. The same with these, and I've cut them in half. This is 4 inches this way, and now I have all 4 units. And now I'm going to need a zipper. So I'm going to put them this way, and I'm going to use, since I used an aqua colored elastic, I'm going to use this aqua zipper. And this zipper simply needs to be, the teeth need to be a little bit longer, because a zipper will always measure from the end of this tape to the end of this tape. So you just need to make sure that the piece where the teeth are, the serrated little teeth, are going to reach close to the end of your piece, and this one does. So for me, this zipper, the bag said that these were 9-inch zippers, and it is a 9-inch zipper, but if you notice, the little teeth are only actually like 8. So you got to watch it when you really got to watch it when you buy a zipper, that you're getting the correct size. Okay, now I'm going to show you, on my machine, I picked a foot that's 1/8 of an inch foot, and so the foot is narrower than it normally is because I don't have a zipper foot, but that's okay. All right, so for the elastic, I just need enough to go from the top, like this, of my book to the bottom. So this is 9 inches, and so all I'm going to do is, you can mark it with a pencil like this, because you don't want that to stretch too much. And so I'm just going to take and I'm going to mark that zipper. Mark the elastic. I'm going to give it a little snip. And if you buy these, this colorful bundle is like $10, and you get a bunch of different colors. You can make dozens of these as gifts for people. And so I love, and this is 1-inch elastic. And it's a double woven. All right, so I have my elastic, I have my zipper, and I have all my pieces. And so now comes the tricky part. I'm going to assemble it. So this is the outside of my zipper, and I like that this one has a finger pull. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble it so that I have a top piece and a bottom piece sandwiched in there like this on the opposite side, because when I open this, after I sew this, I'm going to need to top stitch it. So I'm going to put on the opposite side right over here, and then I'm going to put a lining piece. So this part of the zipper, just going to center it. I tend to use longer pins for this process, or clips, because this can be a nuisance. So I'm just kind of centering that zipper. I may need to move it over just a hair so that my teeth are covering it. And then I'm lining up that edge right there, and I'm bringing this part wrong sides wrong sides to the outside, wrong sides to the outside. And so you want the pretty sides to kiss. The part with the interfacing goes towards the zipper. So this part, and then the part that doesn't have interfacing is your seam allowance. You're going to want to leave that alone. And so here I'm just going to take and line that up so that they're even with each other. And I'm going to put several pins in there. And I have to make sure that you're careful not to sew over those teeth with your sewing machine, because you can really do some damage to your sewing machine. And so always watch where those little pieces are. And I'm going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam, which is about halfway through that zipper tape. So if you look at a zipper, I want my seam to end up right in the middle, right along there. So that if you measure it, it should be about a 1/2 inch width right there. And so you want to end up at a 1/4 inch seam along that zipper. And so I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way down the side. And you can check it by opening it. And when you flip it this way, you should see the top of the zipper. Okay? So let's go over there and sew it. Sometimes I like to move the little zipper pull out of the way. You can always move it out of your way when you start, and that just makes it easier. And then you're going to want to kind of clip that together. So you can use a little clip, or you can use another pin. You just want that out of your way, because in this case it has a great big zipper pull. All right, so let me show you how to sew it. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, Wanda, I'm not sure what your question is. I'm going to go back and check the question. So let me go back in just a minute. All right, so now that I have my zipper all lined up, I'm just going to come over here, and I'm using a 1/8 inch foot, which is narrower than a 1/4 inch foot, and that's so I can get really close to that zipper. I'm going to pull that out because I don't need it, and I'm just going to come and I'm going to, you can use a stiletto, you can use other stuff, but I'm just going to sew right down the edge of that zipper. If you have a zipper foot, this is a perfect time to pull it out and use it. But if you don't have a zipper foot, that's okay. When you get to your part where you have started sewing, go ahead and backstitch just a stitch or two, and then slowly make your way down the zipper. And like I said, I tend to open that a little bit as I go because that just makes it easier, and you're just lining up all those raw edges. Super easy if you have a narrow foot or a zipper foot. This gets much harder if you have a big wide foot that you're working with. Watch this type of sewing because it can really get out from under you. So a lot of times I will hold it from the back and from the front just to keep all of the pieces from coming apart. You can also glue baste it. If you have a little bit of glue, you can always do that. When you get to the end, you're going to back tack it just a hair, and then you're going to pull it out and you're going to sew. And now you got to attach the other side. So I'm going to bring it back over to the table so you can watch me assemble the other part. Okay, now that I have this part, I'm just going to open it so you can see it. And get in the habit when you're making these kinds of things of finger pressing it, because if you use denim or other stuff, then it's just easier to finger press it than to necessarily use it. But you're using quilting cotton, so that's fine. And so now I'm going to finger press that this way. I'm just going to straighten it up and line it up. And now I'm going to top stitch only the top layer. And so that means I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to lay this down. I am probably going to give it a quick little press just to make it crisp, and then I'm going to top stitch it. Yes, I am going to be making this. So the question was, can you show us what comes next? So next week we're going to be making this pleated makeup bag, and this uses leftover jelly roll strips. So if you have jelly roll strips that are 4 inches in length and one that is 8 inches in length, we're going to be making this bag using leftover jelly roll scraps. And it's also lined. And you can use a little zipper for this one. The zipper on this one is only like a little 6-inch craft zipper. All right, so now that I have it like this, I'm going to give it a quick press. And I'm going to come and I'm going to top stitch it 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, so really close to the edge. So let me show you. This is going to be fast. I have purple thread in my machine, and that's okay. I didn't switch it out. When you get to this end, you're going to want to take your zipper and you're going to want to pull it past your machine, and that will enable you to sew easier. When you get to the end, you're going to keep going. So that's just a pro tip. I always kind of open my zipper, if you notice, and that just makes it easier to sew. If you have a zipper that's too long, you can actually still use it. You just have to cut off the excess. So if you don't have the zipper that's the exact size, you can do that. All right, so now that I have this and I've top stitched it, I've only top stitched through the front, not the lining. Now I'm going to close it and I'm going to do the same, repeat the steps again. I'm going to take it like this. This is the seam allowance, so I'm going to lay it with the interfaced edge this way. Ooh, I wanted it opposite, but that's okay. We're just going to have to make do. All right. And so I'm going to line it up just like this. I'm going to take the lining piece, and remember, pretty sides are always kissing. So pretty side to pretty side. We are not bumping the ugly parts together, only the pretty parts. Are you guys with me so far? This is an easy way to put in a zipper on a little bag. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to stitch again. Like I said, I might pull that zipper, but it might be okay. I'm going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way down the side. I might start up here and sew towards this and then move the zipper out of my way. That just makes it easier. All right, back over to the machine. Back stitch when you get to that edge. I'm using a stitch length that is a 2.0. For those of you wondering. So it's a tight little stitch length. And you're just going to want to keep those layers from shifting. Sometimes they want to shift on you, and that's why I move this zipper out of the way. Just unzip it all the way down and then keep sewing, and that just makes it easier for you to sew that way. Line up that zipper with that edge. And that just saves you a lot of headache. All right. Almost done. This is super fast. What kind of foot am I using? It's called an 1/8 inch foot. And at the end, I will take it off so you can see it. My machine comes with a foot that's narrower than a traditional foot. Let me see if I have another foot that's similar hanging around. I don't. I will have to pull it off my machine so you can see it in a minute. But if you have a zipper foot, you can use a zipper foot. And so now I'm just going to take and finger press that across. And I'm going to line this up. Oh, that's pretty darn close. Look at that. And I'm going to press that. Careful not to melt those teeth. This has plastic teeth. And then I'm going to top stitch only the top layer. So I'm going to pull that lining away from that, just like this. You can pin it out of your way if you want to, but I'm going to top stitch down this side right here. Super easy. Can you guys see me? When I get close to where I'm going, then I just run that zipper the opposite direction. And it's done. Super easy. All right, now that I have both of these sides top stitched, and it got askew just a hair, but that's okay. It will happen. I'm going to be opening the entire thing because I'm going to be sewing it like this. So we're going to take and open this zipper some about halfway through to get this out of the way, this zipper pull, and I'm going to want to push both of these edges downward to keep my zipper from buckling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to pin these ends like this so that they stay the way that I want them to, because I want my zipper to lay flat in the later steps. So I'm going to take and I'm going to pin it downward just like this, and then I'm going to be lining these up and I'm going to be sewing just like this. I'm going to sew the front to the front and the back to the back, leaving an opening. So I'm going to make that flat so that my zippers go backward like this. And then I'm going to leave an opening just like this. So I'm going to mark it just so you guys can see. I'm going to leave this open right here because that's how I'm going to turn this entire bag. And I want my seam allowance to be a nice generous 1/2 inch, so you don't sew it closed until the end. Then I want to match up these sections right here. They're getting crazy on me, so I'm going to fold these just like that, and I'm going to pin it on either side. I did it the wrong way. That's okay. Life happens. And so now that I've matched those sections and I've matched the lining, I'm going to want to match these seams because these are pieced. So I'm going to want to match these up so that it's not crazy off. And if it's off a tiny bit, then it's okay because you're not really going to see it. It's going to be the bottom side of the pouch. So I'm just going to pin these. At those intersections, I'm nesting those seams because they are going opposite direction, which is super helpful. And then this one ended up off by just a smidge, but I'm not going to cry about it. All right, so now that I have everything pinned, I'm going to sew starting here. I'm going to back stitch, go all the way around a 1/2 inch and end up right here. And my elastic will get slipped in here, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put my elastic in here. So my elastic, I'm I'm gonna stick it through here, and I'm gonna drop it in there, and I'm gonna stick it out. So I'm gonna put it in here. Probably should have sandwiched that earlier. And I'm going to stick it out on both sides, just like that. And it's gonna pop out about a 1/2 inch, kind of centered on the front side, just like that. Push it down out of your way so that you're not sewing over it. You can fold it if you want, but you're gonna stick it in that sandwich, dead in the middle of that sandwich, just like that. And you're going to stick it in there. So my zipper sticks out, my zipper's on this side. My elastic is in the middle of the outer fabric, not in my lining area. Okay? Yes, I got my elastic and my zippers from Amazon. Yes, I did. They got them to me in one day. All right, so now I come over here and I'm going to start on this bottom side and sew all the way around. I don't know if you can see me. Let me move my camera. Scooch over. I'm going to sew here and go all the way around. So that's where I'm going to get started. And I'm using a dark thread and so that you can see it. And I'm going to start here. Then I'm going to back it up. I'm going to pull that pin because I don't want to run over any pins. And I'm just going to pivot. And I'm actually sewing right along the edge right there. Okay? When I get here, I'm going to have to be careful because this has some big teeth. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm not running over those teeth with my sewing machine. So I'm going to have to be very careful when I get here, and I'm going to have to carefully jump over my zipper. So I'm going to get here, and I'm going to walk my machine with the flywheel. If you notice it, I'm just turning it with my hand rather than using my foot, because what I don't want to do is run over that zipper. That zipper has a big metal piece there, and I do not want to tear up my machine. And then I'm going to the other side of that zipper, and I'm going to drop the needle. And so I'm barely skipping over my zipper. Now, if your zipper is a plastic zipper, and you can run right over those plastic teeth, it doesn't hurt anything. But this one is a metal zipper, and I don't want to break my needle. When I get to my elastic, I'm going to go back and forth several times to reinforce it. And then I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to get to the corner, and I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to keep going. I'm sewing kind of along that edge, not on top of the interfacing. And I'm going to stop and pivot, making sure that my zipper is out of the way. Just like that, I get to my elastic, and I'm going to go over it several times, like 3. And then I'm going to come back this way, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to have to carefully use my hand to get to my zipper, just like that. And then when I pause, I'm going to have to kind of lift it, lift my needle, hop over those teeth. Then as soon as I get past those teeth, then I can continue sewing. If you want to back tack it just a hair right there, you can. I'm going to stop right there. And I'm going to come back down this side. And then I'm going to back stitch, and then that's it for this section. Once I get this part done, I'm ready for the last part. All right. So now I have this. I'm going to take and I'm going to trim these little corners. If you wanted to round these corners for your little pencil pouch and make it kind of more rounded, you could do that. But I'm just going to trim all this excess right here off of these corners because it makes them sharper when I flip it. You can use a chopstick. I often keep paintbrushes around because paintbrushes have this rounded edge, but I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to shove them in there. I'm going to clip this excess of this zipper right here and the excess of that elastic, not too short. And then I'm going to pull this apart and bring it out. And this is another reason why you need to leave it open, is because it enables you to flip it around. If that zipper were closed, you wouldn't be able to just flip it inside out. So opening that zipper is a good thing. So now that I have it like this, I'm going to take and I'm going to put that through the hole, and I'm going to push out those corners. Kathy says, do I ever make them padded? Yes. You can make quilted parts for this if you want to make them a little bit bigger. They're easier to work with if they're bigger. So I've made the bigger pencil pouches, and I make them all the time. They're one of my favorite things to do. So I make them in every size. I had a bunch of fabric left over from making face masks, and I use that to make pouches. But yes, you can. And so now that I have this, and I like these corners, how they turned out. Poke that one out just a hair. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to close this by pressing it, and I'm going to top stitch this little section right here. You can hand sew it if you want to, but just fold the seam allowances in, trim the excess thread, and I'm using a darker thread so you can see it. Just poke those other corners out. And then you're just going to press that shut like this. And if you didn't feel like sewing it, you can even use a little bit of stitch witchery. But I'm going to sew that shut, so I'm going to take and I'm going to top stitch it really quick. But these are wonderful little gifts. It's nice if you have an embroidery machine and you can embroider somebody's name, or even if you do hand embroidery and then frame it using jelly roll strips. This is a perfect use of all of those leftover bits and stuff that's in your sewing room. You're like, well, this is not enough for a quilt, this is not enough for a project, what do I do with it? And so there you have it. Just like that, I top stitched that little piece. I stick it to the inside, and this makes a wonderful little padded pouch. I love this little zipper because it has a nice zipper pull. And now when I get ready to stick it on my agenda, it'll be nice and snug. And then when I am running around, I can just pop that open and I can stick something in it as big as a rotary cutter. So all kinds of things will fit in there. Like I said, you can put your eyeglasses in there, an ink pen, your keys, and it makes a wonderful little, just pop that zipper out, makes a wonderful little pouch. And I call this my organizer. So it's my organizer pouch. And you can make that any size. If you want your pouch to be a little bit bigger, you can. And I just want to make mine so that I have it on there on my notebook. And so now everywhere I go, I have this little organizer pouch. But these are great. Like I said, you can put them around a visor in the car. You can stick them over the entire notebook. So if you make it a little bit bigger, just put over the entire thing just like this. And they fit really, really well. You have this little handy little pouch that you can use. All right, everybody, this is a little handy dandy organizer. If you junk journal, if you travel places and you don't want to carry a giant wallet, but you just want to have like a little bit of money, a couple of credit cards or something, take that with you, drop that in your purse. It almost serves as like a little wallet as well. All right, friends, this is it. Use those little jelly roll scraps. Make yourself some little pouches. Give them to some friends and family. These are quick and easy gifts. You can quilt these. You can use orphan blocks. So if you have, for example, an extra block that looks like this is a perfect piece for this. Just cut it apart and you can make yourself little organizer pouches. And if you make it wide enough, you can even slip your cell phone in there. All right, everybody, this is it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I will see you guys next Thursday to make this super handy dandy pleated jelly roll makeup bag that you can give as gifts. And so I'm going to have some dimensions and some cutting diagrams for this one on the website in a couple of days. And then if you guys will join me next Thursday, I'll show you how to make more scrappy, quick and easy gifts. All right, everybody, you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.